Hey there, Barb McGowan here, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Jill. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the topics that is near and dear to my heart and something that's kind of the bedrock of having a successful online business, and that's effective content. So if you are one of those people that is brand new to content creation, or you've been creating content for a little while, but you feel a little bit lost and like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what's going to stick, then this is meant for you. Sorry, I stole your introduction, Jill. I'll let you talk for a sec.
It's okay. I'm Jill, and I'm really actually excited to talk about content because it was probably one of the things that I struggled with the most. So I am really excited to actually kind of break it down and talk to people that are having the same struggles that I did. And because I was certainly the one that was throwing spaghetti against the wall and it didn't work for me. So I'm really excited about this actually.
Yes. Yeah, me too. And like we were talking about this earlier, but I think content creation is probably, it's like, if your content is no good and you can't really drive traffic to your offer, you don't know if the rest of your funnel, the rest of your email sequence, really the rest of your business, all the automations and the systems you've put in place, you don't know if that stuff is any good. It could be the best in the world, but if you're unable to drive traffic to it, you'll never know. And so this is kind of like that first step of how to troubleshoot if you're not making any money in your business. So if that's you and you want to make some money, then pay attention and listen up. Alrighty. So we're going to be going through, I was kind of jokingly calling it like the aha. So that's how you make good content, that framework right now. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is the framework that Jill and I kind of put together to help you remember it more easily. So you can remember it by AHA, so the letters at the top. And so again, if your current state, this box on the left, like the orangish looking box, you've never created content before, or you don't know how to create content that's effective, that gets your audience to take some kind of action, like, to drive that traffic, to get them to click a link and to take some kind of action, then this is for you. Or if you just feel like your content could be a little bit better, you need more ideas for topics, you're not really sure if your content's effective in grabbing people's attention. So this is fairly broad. And so we just want to take you from that current state, that orange box, to the blue box on the far right, which is consistently creating content that drives traffic effectively and translates into leads and sales for your business. Because ultimately, you need to make money in order for this to be a true business. So,
well, and one of the things that I think is so important too is that when you're first starting out, you don't realize how important all these steps are and how important everything in. And when you actually start breaking down your content, what you actually really need to think about instead of just like sitting in front of a camera and just creating something.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, like this stuff, the steps that we've kind of put in place for this framework is based on, the year and a half of experience I've had with my online business and content creation. And how long have you been in the game now, Jill?
Almost a year. It was December. I really started in December into January.
That's wild. Wow, we've known each other for that long.
We have.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, this isn't, something that we discovered, we didn't discover avatars and hooks, and we're going to get into that in a second. But this is kind of the framework that we've identified through our own experience as, how we've been able to create content successfully that has an impact on the people viewing it and gets them to take some kind of action, right? Which is why we're all here.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to jump right in. So the first A stands for avatar. Identify your avatar. And so you guys, you've probably either seen the movie Avatar, if you're like a science fiction fantasy weirdo like me, or you may have heard that word thrown around in the affiliate marketing, content creation kind of sense. And really, you can think of your avatar as one single person. So like your whole target audience condensed down, boiled down to one single person. One of the most impactful, I can kind of think back to when I first started creating content, first had my online business, and different like pivot points in my business where I heard something that really impacted me. And it was a few months in, and I heard a video from Mike Rama, which if you guys don't follow Mike Rama, highly recommend it. He's a great account to follow to help you with creating better content. But what he said is whenever you're creating a piece of content, whether it's a video, writing an email, posting on Facebook, whatever, make that piece of content for one person. Have one specific person in your mind that you are literally talking to one-on-one, and it will make your content better. And that really impacted me. And I remember like kind of immediately after that, creating a piece of content, which I was talking to myself. I was talking to me 3 or 4 months prior, before I had started my online business, when I was kind of on the fence. And I really was talking to myself when I said, so have you been here on TikTok scrolling through and looking at all these side hustles, but you keep just consuming new side hustles thinking, oh, I could do that one, but never taking action? Like that was kind of like the gist of it and the hook. That video ended up getting tons of views, tons of engagement, I think like in the hundreds of comments. And my account was like, fairly new. But really, it's because I was calling myself out, like that previous version of me. And that was my avatar, like that person that was kind of on the fence about wanting to start an online business. And so by making it really personal, and like I had people in the comments saying, I feel like you're talking to me personally. And I was like, I'm literally talking to me from like 3 or 4 months ago. But by having that specificity, and really, again, talking to that one specific person, which was me from the past, it really impacted the people who were watching it. And so that's why it's critical to identify that avatar and know who you're talking to, rather than, oh, I'm just targeting everyone. If you try to target everyone, no two people, in the everyone spectrum have the same experience, the same problems and pain points. And so you can't really address one common pain point or problem across everyone in a meaningful, impactful way. That's why I say, find that avatar, find that one specific person you're talking to. It's going to immediately improve your content. Jill, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
No, but I think that's so important, because I think what happens, at least has happened to me, is that you come in and you're trying to attract everybody because that's what you think is the right thing to do. And you end up attracting nobody, because nobody can actually identify with the story that you're telling. And I know that I made that mistake in the very beginning, and it wasn't until I figured out that you're actually speaking to one person that made a huge difference in my content, and actually getting people to actually talk back to me and get those comments and get the likes and get people to follow me. So that was a huge mistake when I first started, for sure. So I think it's if you haven't had that experience yet, it is such an important piece of content, and knowing that you only speak to one person, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I know I've said this a million times, but there's some saying that I heard, I'm regurgitating it, it's not my own, but if you chase 2 rabbits, you catch none. So if you're going after, again, the everyone on the audience spectrum, instead of just like that one kind of targeted group of people, then you're going to end up appealing to and, catching none of them. So, yeah. All right.
100%.
I will stop pontificating and move on to the H in our framework, which is hook, story, offer. And that in and of itself is kind of like a mini framework that you can use to organize your content, like organize your actual TikTok videos in a way that is just super easy for you to remember what to do, in what order, and what component pieces are necessary to really create effective content. And you may have heard this before. Brian Brewer has talked about it. This isn't something that he or I created. I think it might have actually been created by Russell Brunson. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but he's the founder of ClickFunnels and is just a beast. But the hook part is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And the hook, you can think of it as like when you're fishing and you have a hook, that's what catches the fish, right? And you want to grab the attention in the first really 1 to 2 seconds of, your TikTok content. But you want to have a hook that personalizes your content for your avatar, So instead of saying like, oh, I just read this book and it was so good. Okay, I don't know you from John, Bob, or Joe, so why do I care? That's what I would say as the viewer. But what would be a more specific hook, as an example, is this book will change your life if you're an aspiring entrepreneur. That's a powerful hook. That's a lot better than the previous one I just had, right? So number one, you'll notice instead of saying I use the word you, because you corresponds to the person viewing that piece of content. And so I care more about, what's in it for me. When I'm watching something on TikTok, I'm scrolling through to try to, as quickly as possible, determine, is this relevant for me? Is this going to be interesting or valuable in some way? And so if you have that hook that conveys that information, not only what the person can expect from watching your content, but also who it's relevant to. So this book will change your life if you're an aspiring entrepreneur. That tells you this is a book recommendation that will change your life. That's pretty important. That's kind of worth watching if you're an aspiring entrepreneur. So people who are not in the online business space, who are not thinking of starting an online business, they don't care about that. They're going to scroll. That's perfect. Because part of attracting your people is repelling everyone who's not your people. You don't need to appeal to everyone in the world. You don't need to have 10 million followers or 10 million views. You just need to have the attention of a small group of people. And so that's why having that really impactful hook that grabs people's attention and the people that you want to talk to is so important. And so the hook grab people's attention. The story is kind of like the meat and potatoes, that middle piece where you're, educating, providing information, entertainment, whatever it is. The middle portion of your content after your hook. And then the offer is kind of like what you have to offer. So if you're presenting a hook and then problem solving information and then an offer of, learn more by clicking this link, the offer is your call to action or your CTA. And so if you say, click the link in my bio and join my Facebook group, come learn affiliate marketing for free. That's a strong, clear, compelling call to action. You let people know what they need to do, why they should do it, and what they get from doing it, So you always want to make sure that you're conveying the benefit of taking that action for your viewer. Don't ever use like and follow. Nobody's going to like and follow unless it's like your grandma or your cousin or, somebody just trying to be nice. Like and follow is the weakest call to action in the book. So make sure, follow me if you want to see more content like XYZ. So if you provide, powerful problem-solving content for the person watching your video, and then you tell them, hey, follow me if you want to see more content like this that can help you with ABC. Now they have a reason to go and follow you. And it's not just like and follow, which is, no, don't ever say that. You heard it here first. All right. Do you have anything to add to the hook story offer formula, Jill?
Well, one thing because the next topic is analytics, and these two kind of go together. So actually looking at the hook and the analytics, when I first started doing this, I didn't really put a whole lot of weight on analytics, and I'm like, oh no, I got this, like I can do it kind of thing, and no big deal. But what was happening is that I wasn't actually getting people to stay on my offer. And one thing, especially in TikTok, one thing that the analytics tells you is how long people are sticking around and watching your content. So if you have a piece of content that actually does really well, you can see where somebody left. And when you have a piece of content that didn't do well, is when you can see when somebody left. Like, did they even stick around to make it through your hook? So was it the hook that was bad? Was it the story that was bad? And when I say bad, I don't really mean bad. I mean, it didn't resonate with that audience that was watching it. So the analytics are such an important piece to all the hook story offer, because it actually lets you dissect how you're doing with kind of creating that hook story offer kind of setup, and if you're doing it well, or if you're falling short as far as like your audience is concerned, so that you can actually adjust the hook story offer to make it more relevant or resonate more with your audience. And that's the important piece of your analytics, and learning how to read those is huge. I can't even tell you how much of a difference it made for me when I figured out how important that piece was to my whole content strategy.
Yeah. Well, and something that I was coming up as you were talking is like understanding that every time you create a piece of content, you're opening a feedback loop, meaning you're giving your audience, the market, an opportunity to give you feedback, whether it's direct feedback, like leaving a comment, sending a DM, taking an action, like clicking the link. So you have some data that you can actually measure, or if it's indirect, which is like you were saying in your analytics. So, oh, this, on average, people only stuck around on this 60-second video for 5 seconds on average, or on average on this 30-second video, 90% of people actually watch the whole video all the way through. That's actually data. Like you can make data-driven decisions for your business rather than guessing or basing it on likes. You know what I mean? Which is like, not a valid measurement of success.
Well, then you can take that piece.
Then
you can take that piece of content that actually has the content that people are sticking around for, and structure your content you have coming up around that, because that that's actually going to resonate with your audience, and that's what you're looking to do. So paying attention to those is huge, and knowing how to read them is even bigger.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and you might think, oh, well, won't my audience be bored of that? No. And even if keep making, like, don't reinvent the wheel. If people want a specific thing and they're saying, oh, we really like this, give them more of that. Like, don't try to switch things up and be clever. Give them more of what they want and keep giving that to them until your analytics tell you otherwise. It's like if you go out on a date and at the end of go to dinner and a movie. And at the end of the date, the person says, oh, I had a great time. Like, I'd love to see you again. The next time you go out with them, you're not going to take them to like a monster truck rally. You're probably going to take them on dinner and a movie again. Do you know what I mean? So
because it worked.
Yeah, because it's tried and true. Like, you don't need to, again, reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
so
sorry.
That's okay. No, that's a perfect example, because I think people understand that whole scenario and how that works. And it's nothing that you can't apply to your content too. So I think it actually goes really well together. And it is relevant to your audience, and trying to actually resonate with your audience and kind of keep them engaged in your content, and doing what works for them is really what you should do. And I think it's a perfect example, honestly.
I feel like dating is so, I don't know, closely linked. Like, there's just so many parallels and similarities between online business and dating. So
I actually 100% agree.
Anyway, I'll stop interjecting and allow you to move on to the next one.
No, that's fine. I mean, well, the next letter is S for students, and being a student of content. And that is really important when you're actually just starting out and trying to figure out what works. One thing that is great to do is actually start looking at what other people are doing as far as what content they have and how they're doing it. And what I mean as a student of their content, not taking their content, but looking at their content from an education point of view. What was the hook? How did they deliver that hook? What was the story they told? What was their CTA? How did they put it together? And how does all that work? Not taking their content, but actually figuring out from an education of how, breaking down their content and how is it working for them, and how did it resonate with you? How did it make you feel? What words did they use, and what words should you actually incorporate to evoke those same feelings and emotions in your content? So taking other people's content from a student perspective and learning from it and figuring out what they're doing and translating that into your content and making it your content, and how you represent yourself authentically in your content, but kind of using how other people are structuring it to help you figure out how to structure yours. Yeah. So that's what I mean by student.
Oh my gosh. And as you were talking, I was thinking of, I don't know if you guys follow, but if you don't, you should. If you're a woman, 100%. Drew Offwallow. Her video, she has like 7 million followers, and basically her content is just, tearing down misogynists on TikTok. Strictly, like, that's it. And she's built a very successful brand around that. But I like to look through her content because she uses humor. Like, she has her content is always like, she'll stitch videos. So it's like a 5-second clip of, some hateful video, whatever. And then she'll come on and just be like, and kind of do her maniacal laugh. And it's just like, what you're getting when you watch her content. And so it just makes me think, like, what are the aspects of that I could take away, to make my content as exciting and interesting as hers. And obviously we're in two different, very different niches. Hers is like very comedy centric and mine is, very business centric and educational and that kind of a thing. But when you start looking at other people's content and seeing like, what are the aspects about this that draw people to it? Like, why are people commenting? Why do people feel so compelled to comment? Like, what's the question or what's the statement being made in this content that's like getting people to take some kind of action and engage with it? And then you'll notice your For You page looks completely different, even though it's the same, because you're looking at it with a different set of eyes and seeing it from, again, the perspective of a student, which is, how can I take this and apply it to my own business or to my own content? And again, just like what Jill was saying, you're not ripping people's content off. You're not recreating content word for word or, stealing parts of it or whatever, but you can absolutely identify a good hook, even if it's not in your niche. Like if you're watching a fitness account, top 3 ways to get ripped abs before summer, whatever, it's already summer, but so it could be top 3 ways to earn your first dollar online in the next month. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I mean, or that's what we mean when we say like consuming content as a student and adapting what people are doing to your own business.
Absolutely. And I don't think that people put enough value in actually being a student of somebody else's content, because I know that I didn't, and it's made a big difference because it makes you more aware, and it also makes you more aware when you're structuring your content of what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. Mm-hmm. So that's absolutely huge. And one example of that is one of the things that's happened, which I'm going to move on to the next O in omnipresence, is that one thing that was really a big shift in mine was actually expanding the platforms that I was on. And probably one of the biggest shifts happened for me when I started putting the content out into other platforms. And I had made a huge difference in my business when I started using Facebook Reels and putting my shorts onto YouTube. What's been interesting is, as people have been coming into my community, is asking them where they came from, because I don't know where they come from. People just ask to join and I'm not sure where they've come from, is they've come from all over now. Mm-hmm. And not just TikTok, because I started out just on TikTok. And so expanding that and figuring out like what your audience is on each individual platform is a little bit different than just dealing with one platform. And knowing how your audience differs from Facebook to YouTube to TikTok, and creating that omnipresence, so no matter where your audience is, you're speaking to them. Mm-hmm. So that's made a huge difference in mine. I mean, it's been like a huge shift in the last what I really started that in the last month. Mm-hmm. So huge difference for me.
Well, and just to brag about Jill a little bit, so like, let's say a month ago, before you would say you were putting effort into like Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, all that, like what was the, I guess the number of people you had in your Facebook community, just as like a kind of barometer of how things are going now?
So I started somewhere in like the 200 range. I had about 200 people in my community inside my Facebook group. And in the last 30 days, my Facebook group, I think right now has between 12 and 1,300 people in it. And I think I still have another 500 waiting in the outside that I can't come in. And unfortunately, it's because I can only bring so many people into my community in a day. And so people end up having to wait, and which is unfortunate, but there's nothing I can do about that. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And but yeah, so it's made a huge difference, and figuring out the omnipresence piece is business changing, for lack of a better word. I don't know how else to say that.
Well, and two, something I just want to throw out is like, I'm sure that everyone has heard of someone getting their TikTok account banned or suspended or whatever. When you're on 5 different platforms and you're able to drive traffic to an offer or to, getting people to take an action, right? Then if TikTok goes down, or if, YouTube goes down, or Facebook is down for the day, which happens, Facebook and Instagram sometimes it goes down or whatever. But when you have kind of multiple arms to your business, it's not going to take your business down. If your TikTok account gets banned, that's a bummer. Like, it really is, but it's not going to crush your business. and force you to start over from scratch. Y'all have to start a new TikTok account, but meanwhile, your business is still running on like the other 5 cylinders or whatever, because, you have things in place, and you're omnipresent, meaning in a meaningful way, not just throwing your content out on day one, even though you don't know if it's good and you have no feedback on it. I'm not saying, just throw your stuff out there to the ends of the internet, but when you've gotten to the point of, again, mastery and proficiency in your content, and that this is quality stuff, and you're seeing feedback and you're seeing people taking action, and you're resonating with your target audience, that's when it's time to expand.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point, because, and so obviously my first content from TikTok was not spectacular, because I was learning, right? It's a skill. You're learning how to actually create content and how it to be good and meaningful content. So when I actually did expand to other platforms, I was choosy in the pieces that I was willing to put out there. So not everything from TikTok is on Facebook and YouTube, but it's not there because I actually grew the skill to create good content, and I didn't want to put that other stuff on there. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes right back to the beginning of this whole thing, and putting the whole thing in as it's one whole unit of trying to figure out your content to drive your business.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's made a big difference in my world, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and yeah, like I said, I was able to build a multi-6-figure business at this point by, I can, again, thinking of specific examples of this stuff being so critical to me. And I literally think that if I could boil down everything I've learned in the last, year and a half plus from an online business perspective, content creation, and planning for having a long-term sustainable business, and not just a side hustle for right now, or a hobby that makes you money right now, but having something that's going to be here in a year and is going to be growing and getting bigger and expanding in a year. These are the key points that I would attribute my success to 100%. So, anyway, so we're going to take the last couple minutes and talk about a special offer that Jill and I have combined forces to bring to you guys. And again, this is more of what we've been talking about, really the in-depth version of what we've been talking about. And so this is for people who've never created content before, and you want to start on the right foot and start creating something meaningful and impactful that's going to start making you money. Or if you've been creating content, but you're not driving traffic, you're not getting people to resonate with your content, you're not getting people to see your content and take some kind of action. This is for you. And if you want to get to that point of consistently driving traffic with your effective content to generate leads and sales, if you want to go from A to Z, we can help you with that. And it's through our Weekend Warrior Workshop. So this is something Jill and I have teamed up on, and we're so excited for it. So start creating content, you guys, that generates sales. That's why we're all here. If you're just creating content willy-nilly for months on end and it's not leading anywhere, don't fall into that trap. You'll lose steam. And I've seen it countless times. I was actually, several months ago, I was on my TikTok account looking at my followers, that had followed me from way back in the day. And there were all these affiliate marketers with tens of thousands of followers that stopped creating content a year before that. Why? Because it wasn't effective. So even though they had tens of thousands of followers, they stopped creating content. They're out of the game. You guys, I just can't stress how important content creation, how important that is to as the lifeblood of your business. So creating content that generates sales, that's the name of the game. That's what we are going to be intensely focused on the weekend of September 3rd and 4th. That's a Saturday, Sunday. So what we're going to be covering is going way more in depth with that 5-step framework. So going more in depth, step by step, into that proven system for turning viewers into leads, into paying customers, and doing that as quickly and efficiently as possible so that it takes the least amount of time and effort for you. In-depth content coaching. So this is going to mean that your content will immediately improve. Okay. And that means that when you have effective content, you can actually get people to do a thing, to take an action, to click that link, to leave a comment, to send you a DM, to do whatever that action is you want to take that's going to lead to them becoming a lead, entering your kind of ecosystem, and then eventually becoming a paying customer. Like Jill was talking about, omnipresence. So the easiest way to be in 5 different places all at once without spending hours reposting mediocre content or content that you aren't sure is any good or is effective. And as a bonus, this is one of the bonuses, we are going to have a month's worth of proven hooks that you can immediately start using and implementing in your own content to grab the attention of potential buyers. So this isn't just something that you can use, you know, like it's more than just a hook. Like if you've struggled with, you know, thinking of ideas for content creation, like, I don't know what to create content about. It's going to give you a month's worth of TikTok hooks, a month's worth of content ideas. So that is incredibly valuable. It's an incredible time saver. And not only is it going to save you time, but it's going to make your content better, period. Again, so this workshop is going to be September 3rd and 4th. We're still kind of playing around with the timing. It's TBD at this point, but if you can't attend or if you have to leave early or whatever the case is, you're going to have lifetime access to all the recordings. So you're not going to lose out on anything if you can't make it or if you have to leave early. Again, we're really excited. And Jill, do you have anything that you want to add to?
No, I am so excited for this weekend. I actually cannot wait for it to start. I know that we're still prepping for it in the background, but I mean, I'm still putting stuff together. And every time I put something together, I'm like, oh, I cannot wait for this to happen.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea of this, just to be 100% clear, this is going to be fairly intense, you know, like that's why it's Weekend Warrior Workshop. And it's going to be, you know, you're not just coming here to learn. You will learn, absolutely, but you're coming here to learn and then turn around and implement, turn around and take action, because that is going to be the thing that gets you from 0 to making your first commission, making your first high ticket commission, making whatever, like reaching your goal. And so I really want to make that clear. We're going to give you all of the tools that you need to get to that point, but it's up to you to implement that, to use it, and to be consistent, to reach out for help and to ask questions, because you're going to have access to me and Jill. Not just that weekend, but beyond.
Well, and this, it's going to be a live. It's going to be live. So it's not pre-recorded or anything. You're going to actually see us live.
Yeah. And be able to interact, ask questions. And we're super excited for that. So, so if you are interested in joining, I want you to drop a hashtag me down below. And one of us will reach out to you and send you that info. Again, it's going to be the weekend. It's a Saturday, Sunday of September 3rd and 4th, with some additional special bonuses and like tools and resources. So drop a hashtag me if you're interested in that. We're super excited. We would love to have you. We're also going to be offering a discount, pretty massive discount for the first 20 people. So it behooves you to take action fairly immediately on this one. And if you're watching this live right now, you actually get first dibs. So it's people who are watching the live right now, then people who are watching the replay, then it's going to go out to our email list. So take action. You will not be disappointed. I can pretty much guarantee you that this will have an immediate impact on your business in a positive way. Yep. Jill, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I couldn't have summed it up any better than that for sure. That was great. Perfect.
We are of one mind. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. Again, drop a hashtag me down below and we will reach out to you. Thank you guys for joining, and I hope you have a lovely day. Peace.